All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Duo Dialogues on YouTube.
Yeah, welcome everyone.
We are so excited to be kicking off this journey with you, learning English together.
Yeah, over the next 60 episodes, or I guess deep dives, we should say.
Deep dives.
We're going to be taking you from beginner to advanced English.
Exact.
So consider this deep dive your personal kickoff.
Yeah, your starting point.
And in this first deep dive, we're going to be talking about something that's really, really important, which is why learning English can sometimes feel difficult, and more importantly, how you can start building the confidence to actually speak and start speaking more.
You know, it's funny because so many people, when they're first learning English, they get so caught up on having perfect grammar.
Right.
And thinking that they need to know all the rules before they even open their mouths to speak.
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing is that having that confidence to speak, even if you don't have perfect grammar, is actually way more important.
It is.
Especially as a beginner.
Yeah. And I think, it's because language is really about conveying meaning and connecting with other people.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have like super complex grammatical structures in order to get your message across. You need to have the courage to actually start expressing yourself.
To just try. To just do it.
Yeah.
And think about this, babies, when they learn their first language.
Right.
They make thousands of mistakes.
Yeah. Over
1,000 mistakes.
Wowza.
It's like part of how they learn.
It is.
They just keep making mistakes until they figure it out.
And I think it's a good reminder that mistakes aren't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
And actually, every mistake that a learner makes is valuable information.
It's data.
Yeah, it's data that's telling the learner and the teacher where to focus their energies.
Exactly. So let's dive into some of the reasons why learning English can be difficult.
Yeah, let's do that.
So one of the most common things that we hear is that people are just afraid to make a mistake.
Right.
They hesitate to speak because they're worried that they're going to say something wrong.
And I think part of it is just how people have been conditioned to think about mistakes in other areas of their life.
Yeah.
But, language is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a process.
It's a very exploratory process.
And making those mistakes is just part of that exploration.
And we actually heard a really interesting story recently about a student who was so terrified to speak in class.
Okay.
And they understood the grammar, but they were just so scared of potentially saying something wrong.
Got it.
That they wouldn't speak.
Yeah.
And then one day, they just decided to try.
Good for them.
And what happened is all of their classmates were so supportive and helpful.
Yeah.
And they weren't laughing at them or anything. They were helping them, giving them gentle corrections, encouraging them.
Yeah, I think that's a good reminder that a lot of times when you are vulnerable and you put yourself out there, you actually find that people are very supportive.
And it helps you to grow, too.
It does. It does.
Yeah. So another thing that people struggle with is lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And this is even when people understand the grammar rules.
Right.
They might know all the tenses, they might know all the clauses, all the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to having a conversation, they just completely freeze up.
Right. And I think that just speaks to the difference between having like what you might call passive knowledge of the language and active knowledge.
Yeah.
So you might passively understand a grammar concept when you read it or when you hear it.
Yeah.
But actually being able to use it, in a real-time conversation.
Spontaneously.
Yeah. Requires a different
skill set.
Yeah. Like it's the difference between understanding the rules of driving and then actually getting behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah. And to bridge that gap, it's important to start simple. Don't try to create these super complex sentences right away.
Absolutely.
Just think of it like, building with Legos.
Right.
You start with the basic blocks.
Yeah.
You get comfortable with those.
Yeah.
Before you move on to building that huge, castle or whatever.
Exactly. Focus on conveying meaning with simple, clear language.
Exactly.
And then as you gain more confidence and experience, you can start to, add in more
on that.
Yeah, more complex vocabulary, more complex grammar. But it's really a process of building on top of a solid foundation.
Another thing that people struggle with is not getting enough listening practice.
Okay.
So it can feel overwhelming to watch a movie in English or listen to a podcast in English without subtitles, right?
Right.
And the temptation is to just give up and turn the subtitles on.
Yeah.
Or to constantly be translating in your head,
Right.
but actually exposing yourself to just the sounds of the
Yeah.
language, like the natural rhythms,
Right.
The music of it
It's crucial
is really crucial.
to developing your listening comprehension.
And you'd be surprised how much your comprehension can improve even if you don't understand everything at first.
Yeah.
Some research shows that after you've watched maybe 10 to 15 movies in English,
Wow.
even if you're using subtitles, your comprehension just shoots way up.
Interesting.
It's kind of like your brain is slowly getting attuned to the language.
Yeah, I guess kind of like learning to recognize different bird songs.
Yeah.
At first, they all sound the same.
You do, but
Then
then
you learn the difference.
you start to
Yeah.
be able to hear those subtle differences.
The nuance.
Yeah.
And then finally, a lot of learners get stuck in the habit of thinking in their native language.
Yes.
And they constantly try to translate everything word for word into English.
And that can really slow you down.
It can slow you down. And it can also make you sound
Yeah.
kind of unnatural.
Unnatural, yeah.
So a good tip to try to break free of this habit.
Is to start just describing the things around you in English.
Interesting.
Just simple things.
Got it.
Like you pick up your coffee cup
Yeah.
and you say, this is a cup.
Okay.
Or the coffee is hot.
Got it.
Okay. You describe what you see outside the window.
I see.
You describe what you're wearing.
Okay.
It helps you to build those associations
Yeah, those direct associations.
in your brain
Yeah.
between the things and the English words for them.
And instead of code switching
Yeah.
between your native language and English,
Yeah.
you're actually thinking in English.
Directly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the reasons why learning English can be difficult.
Yeah.
Now let's switch gears and talk about how you can build confidence
Yes. Let's do it.
in speaking.
All right.
So one of the first things you can do is just start speaking in shorter sentences.
Okay.
So instead of thinking, I would like to have a cup of coffee with milk and sugar, please,
Right.
which can feel kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
You can just say, can I have a coffee with milk?
Perfect.
It's simple, it's direct, and it gets the point across.
Right. Right.
And similarly, try to use simpler words.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, the weather is exceptionally pleasant today,
Right.
you can just say, the weather is nice.
The weather is nice. Yeah.
Keep it simple.
And, I think when you start with those simple sentences and simple words,
Yeah.
it kind of helps you to build momentum.
Right.
Because then you experience a little bit of success and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I can do this.
I can communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you feel more confident to keep going.
Exactly.
Well-
And then you start adding to that.
Right.
You
You're
build
right.
on that.
Yeah.
So a few things that you can do to help build your confidence
Yeah.
is, first of all, practice speaking in front of a mirror.
Okay.
I know it sounds a little weird, but
I like this one.
it's actually
That's nice to do this all the time.
really.
Yeah.
I do it too.
Yeah.
It's so helpful.
It is.
But just, look at yourself in the mirror, make eye contact with yourself, and just say some basic phrases.
Right.
Like, hi, my name is your name.
Yeah.
I'm learning English.
I like it.
It really helps you to become more comfortable with the act of speaking.
I think so too. And it also helps you to see
Yeah.
how your mouth is moving.
Your pronunciation.
Yeah, when you're forming the sounds. Yeah.
See your body language.
Yeah, yeah.
Another thing you can do is just talk to yourself in English.
Oh, yeah.
No pressure.
No one's listening.
Just describe your day.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like in the morning, we'll be like, okay, I gotta brush my teeth, gotta make breakfast.
Just walk into the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm making coffee.
Yeah.
It's such a good way to practice.
It is, because then you don't have to feel self-conscious about making mistakes in front of other people. It's
Yeah.
just you and your thoughts.
And you can also record yourself speaking.
Yeah.
I know some people hate listening to the sound of their own voice,
Right. Yeah.
but it can be really helpful
Yeah, I think it's really helpful.
for, assessing your own
Yeah.
speaking habits. Like you might notice that there are certain words that you mispronounce
Yeah.
or certain places where you tend to hesitate or get stuck.
Yeah.
So it's really valuable for
I agree.
self-reflection.
I agree. I think self-reflection is
Yeah.
a huge part of any learning process.
Yeah.
So by recording yourself, you can kind of
Yeah.
take a step back and analyze.
Be objective.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, watching movies and TV shows with subtitles
Yes.
can be really helpful.
Absolutely.
And especially for beginners.
Yeah.
Animated movies are great,
Okay.
because the dialogue is often simpler
Right.
and the pronunciation is really clear.
Yeah, it's exaggerated sometimes.
It's like, Toy Story,
Sorry.
The Lion King,
Yeah.
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
Those are all really great, good recommendations.
For beginners.
And I think watching movies with subtitles is really helpful because it gives you that connection
Yeah.
between the written language
Right.
and the spoken language.
And then for those of you who are feeling a little bit brave,
Okay.
you can try starting conversations with strangers
Cool.
in just like low pressure environments.
Got it.
So this could be, at a cafe.
Okay.
You could ask the waiter, could you recommend a dish?
Yeah.
Or if you're at a store, you could ask the clerk, do you have this in a smaller size?
Right. Yeah.
Or where is the restroom?
Yeah. Simple questions.
Yeah, simple questions.
And I think those are good because they are real world interactions.
Exactly.
Where you are actually using English.
In a practical way.
Yeah, to get something done.
And each time you do that,
yeah,
it builds your confidence.
It does, because then you realize, hey,
yeah,
I can actually communicate,
yeah,
in English.
And people understand me.
Yeah, exactly. So let's imagine a couple of examples of these simple confidence-building conversations.
Okay, I like it.
So imagine two friends are talking about their fear of speaking English.
Okay.
And one friend might say, I get so nervous every time I have to speak English. I'm so worried people are going to laugh at me.
Yeah.
And the other friend could say, no one's going to laugh at you.
Yeah.
Think about a baby learning to walk.
Right.
Do their parents laugh at them when they fall down? No.
No.
They encourage them and help them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's such a good analogy because
it is.
It takes the pressure off of making mistakes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to make mistakes.
It is.
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process.
Or imagine you're at a cafe and you want to order a coffee.
Oh, okay.
You could say, I'd like a coffee, please.
Yep.
And the barista might ask, would you like milk or sugar?
Right.
And you could say, yes, milk, but no sugar.
Perfect.
Short, effective, you got your coffee.
You got your coffee.
And it builds that momentum.
Yeah, and those are the kinds of exchanges that beginners can start with because they're so predictable and there's kind of a limited set of vocabulary and phrases that are used in those situations.
Exactly. Or you could ask for directions like, excuse me, where is the bus stop?
Right.
And the person might say, go straight ahead and then turn right.
Yeah. Simple.
Simple, but
effective.
Effective.
And I think it's really cool about those kinds of interactions is that you get that immediate feedback that you were successful.
Right.
You asked a question, you got an answer.
Exactly.
So you know that the communication worked.
Okay, so now let's talk about some fun exercises you can try.
Okay, love it.
To,
make things more fun.
To make it fun. Yeah, and to practice.
All right.
So one thing you can do is just repeat common English phrases out loud.
Oh, I like that.
Things like, hello, how are you? Or, can you help me?
Got it.
Just get your mouth used to making those sounds. And
right, because then it's like you're training the muscles in your mouth to form those
sounds.
That's
the muscle memory.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another thing you can do is describe objects around you in English.
Okay.
So you could pick up your phone and say, this is a phone.
Yeah.
It is black.
Yeah.
It is rectangular.
Yeah.
I use it to call people.
Simple but effective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can also do the speak for 1 minute challenge.
Ooh, I like that.
So you pick a simple topic,
okay,
like my favorite color.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to talk about it for a whole minute.
I love it.
In English.
And again,
doesn't matter if you make mistakes.
Doesn't matter if you make mistakes.
Just keep speaking.
Yeah, just keep the words flowing.
Yeah.
And that's really good for
yeah.
building fluency and that ability to just think in English.
Yeah, to think on your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
And then finally, you can play the correct the mistake game. Okay, how do you play that?
So if you hear someone say something that's grammatically incorrect, like he don't like pizza.
Right.
You can correct it in your head or even out loud if it's appropriate to he doesn't like pizza.
Got it.
And it helps you to just,
Yeah, I guess it makes you more aware of those common mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this first deep dive into overcoming the fear of speaking and building your confidence in English,
right.
Let's recap some of those key takeaways.
Good idea.
So remember, mistakes are not failures.
They are not.
They're actually really important steps on your journey to fluency.
They are.
And try to make an effort to speak some English every single day.
Yes, even if it's just a few words.
Even if it's just a few sentences.
Yeah.
Start with simple words, simple sentences.
Yep.
And then slowly you can build on that.
Absolutely.
Practice in any way that feels comfortable and effective for you.
Right.
So, talk with a language partner if you have one. Talk to yourself in the mirror.
In the mirror.
Record yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you.
Most importantly, just surround yourself with the language as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Watch, listen, and repeat.
And I think it's a good thing to remember that every fluent English speaker that you've ever met
Yeah.
started exactly where you are right now.
Right.
So it's a journey.
It is.
And it's about taking those small steps every single day.
And celebrating those wins.
Yeah.
Every time you...
Every time you say a new word
Yeah.
or
get through a conversation.
yeah, or you have a conversation.
I did it.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you go about your day today,
Yeah.
think about just one small step that you can take
Okay.
to practice your speaking.
Right.
What's one sentence that you can try to use?
Yeah, what's one object that you can describe?
Exactly.
Love it.
So thank you so much for joining us on this very first deep dive
Yes, thank you.
on the Duo Dialogues.
It's been so fun
Yes.
talking about this with you.
Yeah, and we're so excited to
continue this journey.
continue this journey with all of you.
Yeah, over the next 60s deep dives.
Deep dives, yeah.
So stay tuned for our next deep dive where we'll be learning
Yes.
how to start conversations with basic greetings.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. See you there.
See you there.